Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends, fans come together to BS, argue, occasionally agree, discuss a musical artist. We are talking Strung Out. I have a brand new record. This is like a first impression slash review. With me is Tim
Hi.
and Bill,
Well, I'm a little strung out right now.
and I'm Jason. Uh, Dead Rebellion. I guess before we get into it, just a quick brief history with the band. Bill, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, I'll have the brief history here. I never even heard of Strung Out before I was told that I was reviewing this album. Went and gave it a listen, and you're going to find out my opinions shortly after we get into this here. But yeah, blank slate.
All right, Tim.
I've heard of them. Um, Probably even heard a song or two, but I'm not sure I can place them, and I definitely never really checked them out. So, well, I've heard of them. This was a completely foreign discography for me.
Yeah, I'm sure you've mentioned this compilations in the past that they've probably been on some comps that you've.
Sure. Yeah.
Me,
Yeah, I've definitely heard of them.
yeah, this is my band. I got on Facebook. If you got the tattoo, you're an official. Your word is law, and my tattoo is actually in the top contenders, so that makes me a double legit. My opinion is law. So, yeah, Dead Rebellion. Bill, you wanna? What was your thoughts on your first
All
Strung
right.
Out record?
So it's interesting, especially as we're doing these albums, in between listening to different discographies. Um, this album sometimes I felt like the production was a little bit behind for what I would consider to be a 2024 album. However, I will say actually a lot of what they've got going on with the instruments and vocals, even, it's enjoyable at times. Um, I think really the main thing I liked about was how it was kind of dynamic. They did some left right stuff on a lot of songs throughout this album. They also did some stuff instrumentally where they had switched up between the verses and choruses, tempo changes and whatnot. Um, One thing I felt overall, I wasn't a super big fan of the vocals on a lot of these records, a lot of these songs compared to the instrumentals. I thought the instrumentals were a little bit stronger. That could just be my own personal opinion here. Um, Granted, that being said, it wasn't so much the vocal words. I actually really liked a lot of the words that were coming through on these songs. It was more the actual pitch and melody behind the vocals that was maybe it was good, but it wasn't amazing. I'll put it that way. Some of these songs are definitely more like soft rock sounding. Some were definitely a lot more metal sounding. I mean, they were like Cages. I thought that was really like, all right, let's go. Not even metal. I thought that was they were knocking on the door to death metal on that song. I felt like, um, just knocking though. They didn't enter it. But honestly, I mean, initial without going too in depth because I know Jason, you'll definitely go more in depth with each song here. Like, I'm intrigued, and I want to hear more of Strung Out after listening to this album. Definitely a lot of sounds that I liked, and very few sounds that I did not like. Very few.
Yeah. So, Tim, what'd you think?
Oh, well, I went into it. Um, I mean, 2024 has been a pretty solid year so far, and we're just now through the first, quarter, first third, and so there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out. So I'm already thinking, like, does this make the top 10 list? I hope it does. And I started listening to it, and the first song did not grab me at all. Right off the bat, like Yeah, the first song I didn't like, and but I kept going, of course. And throughout the album, I was noticing some interesting production choices. I felt the bass drum was too high, the guitar was a little thin. Stupid stuff that affect how I hear something for the first time. I did hear some interesting songwriting choices. The songs themselves were fairly interesting. And however, I don't know if it was those production choices or even musical choices, but a lot of these songs just left me nothing grabbed me. It did seem like at times they were trying to get um, almost like a Dragon Force kind of metal production where it's just super clean and super, staccato. And and then there were other times where a lot of the guitar um, lines were just kind of repetitive a little too much, and they were a little like 2000s mallcore, and so it was a weird combination that seemed to be fighting for a sound that they were going for, and I feel like the song suffered because of that. So yeah, overall, I don't think I liked this album. I do think "Dystopian Party Bus" was my favorite song on here. I'll probably give it another listen because there's a lot going on here. Um, but just first impression was, yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know if I like it.
So, Dystopian Party Bus. This is just what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the only song that Jake wrote. And they're saying Jake's not on the album or with the band anymore. I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay.
But
Yeah, the credits for this are not really available, and I didn't pick up the album, but
I mean, I have the album and it doesn't say anything about who played on it or anything. It's weird.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a dated sound, but also not. Like it sounds very current and very fresh, and it's not like a retro feeling album or anything like that. Like we're trying to sound like 2004 or we're trying to sound like 89 or whatever. Um, but I was feeling those different eras creep in. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to give it another listen.
Yeah, it sucks. This was the Strung Out album that you guys heard first. Saying that, though, I still like the record. It still sounds like Strung Out to an extent,
Okay.
but my notes are all kind of outdated because I wrote them after 2 listens, and I've probably heard this record 15 to 20 times since then.
Okay.
Um, but Future Ghost, not the best opening track by a long shot,
Yeah.
especially for Strung Out. I mean, you got Firecracker, Velvet Alley, fucking Analog, Black Crosses, Rats, Too Close. Tough competition. It's decent, but there's something about the tones. It's just weird. Signal Fires, it's slower than past Strung Out, but it's okay. I love the pre-chorus, I'm the Walking Dead, fully automatic section. New Gods sounds like Exile or Blackhawks era Strung Out. I fucking love it. The Who Made You, and Who Needs You part is fun. White Owls is decent. I like Jason's vocals, but that's just me. Um, Life You Bleed is probably my low point. It's got good lyrics, but it's a grower.
Okay.
Listen,
Okay.
Cages, first song that I had heard, and I wasn't a fan, but it's grown on me. It's got some good riffs in it. Empire Down is super fucking weird for a Strung Out song. It sounds familiar here and there, but it's definitely like a different direction that they're going for. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Resistance kicks ass. I love the second verse. Like an atheist down on his knees, like a sunken ship, like a cult of thieves, rattling chains to make your peace with the dark, with the light, with this new disease. Plus, it has the throwback to Cages. Ceremony was another weird one. Like, but then the more I've listened to it, I really like that one a lot now. The Baby Don't You Know, where all this really go, vocal melody is really good. Veronica's song, top song contender on the album for me. It reminds me of the Transmission Alpha Delta record. Great guitar solo, vocal melodies, classic Cruise lyrics. All kinds of good shit happening on that one. Dystopian Party Bus, fucking anthem. That's a great one too. And Plastic Skeletons, again, like Strung Out has some of the best closing tracks on any fat band. And this one is good, but it's not their best. I don't know. I'm biased when it comes to Strung Out, so I fucking love it. It's a grower for sure. Every time I've listened to it, I've liked it more and more. And it still sounds like Strung Out. Like they didn't change that much. The production sucks, but it kind of like flattened the band out where they're not as sharp as on past records.
Okay.
Right.
But
so I find it kind of interesting from my perspective, at least. I mean, you said it sucks that this was our introduction to Strung Out, but as I said, I am very intrigued to see what else they produce, because actually there was a lot of songs on here that I liked enough that I would be more than happy to listen to again. I mean, this is...
Well, they got their fan base. There's two types of Strung Out fans. There's the ones that like only love, the Jim Cherry years, the album they lost their virginity to, and then there's the ones that stuck with them when they changed in the 2000s. And
I mean, that's true of every band that survived the 90s, 2000s. Anybody who's putting out their 10th album.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, NoFX can put out their 15th album and it could sound just like their 9th album. And everyone's okay with that.
Sure. There's two types of bands, There's
so you have your
bands that
Iron
have the
Maidens
same
and you have your
sound.
Def Leppard.
But I mean,
Yeah.
to me, Strung Out, they may have changed one time, but they still sound like Strung Out now that they did 20 years ago with American Paradox or, anything post Element. So if you don't like this, I don't know if you're a Strung Out fan.
Well, if you like this, is there an album that you would suggest us following this up with?
I'd say go to Exile and Oblivion.
Okay.
That album's fantastic. Or try any of them, honestly, any of them. Go to any of them. Except for the one right before this.
Okay.
Also, but the drummer, they don't have the same drummer now. Jordan left. This is the second record without Jordan. So...
Okay.
And this is their second drummer. Who is it? Daniel Bloom. He's only on this record. The previous record had a different drummer, but then anything past that, check that out. Because the drumming is not. This is bad. I mean, this guy does a great job. He's just, he's not Jordan.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to have a good drummer, and as Tim kind of mentioned, like production can also hurt a drummer too, like depending on how they're going, or any instrumental or vocalist. Like if they mix it wrong and make some stuff too loud or too soft.
This is very much a vocals up front production.
Yeah, definitely a lot of vocals. It did feel, though, you kind of alluded to it earlier, where it just feels like they're searching for a direction on here.
Yeah, this is they advertised it as, we're changing sound. We can't just sound the same for years.
And so, kudos for them. I applaud bands who like to grow. There's nothing wrong with that.
It feels like not a super wide net, but like a wide net of songs that's like, it's not over wide, like, where it's really like, okay, we're going to do everything, from like pop to country to rock all in one album. It's like, okay, there's these, different types of, metal, rock type sounds. That
Sure.
We're gonna get to
people-
this discography, and then you'll hear "Twisted by Design" and "Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues," and you'll be like, "Oh shit!" But you actually, Bill, you'd probably like the lead singer's solo stuff, Jason Cruz and the Howl, because it's more up your alley, I think.
Okay. Is that, I mean, there was some stuff that I wasn't a super huge fan of, but like this album overall, I liked a lot of stuff I heard on this album.
It's definitely the back half's better than the front half for me.
Yes, that's
I felt
actually,
that as well.
if
Yeah.
I didn't mention it, I felt this album built on itself as the songs went.
It's just, I mean, that opening
Is it a
track
double album or one disc?
No, it's just one.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because usually if there's two and the C side is where you want to start.
Well, let's yeah. If this was a vinyl,
You
right?
got
The
that
B-side
Anthrax
would-
shirt.
the B sides would start with what? Empire Down. They'd follow by Resistance Ceremony. I mean, then you got Veronica's song, but then you'd be finishing that with Dystopian Party Bus and Plastic Skeletons, which that'd be a pretty fucking good B side, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Some albums I don't even listen to the A side. Like it's all about the B side sometimes.
Yeah, that's where it splits. Cages is the end of the A side. But yeah, I mean, I fucking love it, but I may be biased. I mean,
Hashtag it.
you know,
I mean, technically, this is my
Hashtag,
hashtag.
I love
for
this
album
fucking
bias.
it's definitely better than Green Day's album for 2024.
I'd agree there for sure. Yeah.
Alkaline Trio, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough end of the year for me.
I've heard a couple I've heard a couple albums this year so far. I would listen to an album that came out the same day as this. It was 10 songs in 20 minutes. And I liked that a lot more. But
And we got Pearl Jam Melvin's coming too.
yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
And then we got the whole back half of the year too. Who knows what the fall has in store for us?
Hell, we're barely a third of the way through the year.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a good year so far.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything else to add? I'm glad Bill's interest is peaked, and I kind of figured this one Tim would not like as much. So, but we're gonna get to Strung Out eventually.
Cool.
So let us know in the comments down below. Do you like Strung Out? Do you have an Astrolux tattoo? Does your opinion matter at all? Be safe. Make good decisions.
You're going up against the law.
The law.